Welcome to the Olathe Spark Starters podcast, where it is our mission to inspire innovative ideas and empower educators to cannonball into personalized professional learning. We're your hosts, Jordan Billings, 7th grade social studies from Indian Trail Middle School,
and Ryan Stevens, 8th grade social studies at Summit Trail Middle School.
Our goals for this episode are to help listeners understand how gamifying your lessons can help personalize and differentiate learning to meet the needs of all students.
All right, and we are here with the indispensable Josh Stock. So Josh, welcome.
Hello.
All right, can you introduce yourself a little bit for people that don't know?
Yeah, so I'm a 6th grade teacher at Santa Fe Trail Middle School. This is my 12th year there, and I've been at Santa Fe Trail my entire teaching career.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
That is awesome.
All right, well, let's get right into it. How does game-based learning improve student engagement?
So when students are engaged in play, they're not only learning content, but they're also working on teamwork, communication, problem solving, and many other skills we want to teach them. Recently, I read an article about the brain and its need to complete these patterns. And that's why things like commercial jingles are so effective. Like, you want to hear the end of it. And there's also an episode of The Office.
I know exactly the one you're talking about.
When he's like trying to complete the jingle and he can't do it and he gets so frustrated. And your brain is actually wired to want to complete patterns. And so when you're playing a game, you want to complete that level over and over and over until you complete whatever the pattern is in the game. And so your brain is just wired to want to participate in gamification. And so kids want to complete that challenge. They're already engaged in games on their own time, so why not bring some of that game-based learning, those game elements, into your classroom?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this folds right into that portrait of a graduate that we talk about here, about just not only social skills, but the ability to work cooperatively and to almost be self-directed and have that initiative too. And I think that makes it such a great element. I mean, you're talking with three awesome gamifiers in different ways.
So, I'm sure at some point we're going to go down the rabbit hole here.
Right.
And this isn't even our first meeting about gamification.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. But so since we're kind of jumping in here, what advice do you have for teachers interested in gamification but not sure where to start?
Okay, I would start by looking at existing games, especially like board games, card games, and go to a game store and ask for game recommendations. I know there's one in Overland Park. Do you guys know what it's called?
I do. It is Tabletop Games. They are amazing. It is totally fun to go there. I'll tell you, the staff is super helpful. If you tell them that you are a teacher, I've been there at least once. And so they have great recommendations for all of these different like strategy type games. You tell them what type of games you like to play. It's awesome.
And they also have like a side room where you can play games.
Yes.
And so if you want to try out a game, a lot of times they have game nights and different things. So the main thing is just try out a lot of games and figure out what types of elements in those games you can actually pull into your classroom. So for example, my daughter loves the game of life. And there is a spinner, and that's how you move around the board. And so that is something that I would love to bring into my own room. Vicki Brinkman, 6th grade social studies teacher, she's on my team. She actually made one of those spinners in her room, and that's her exit slip. So you spin it, and it's got a couple of different ways kids could respond. And so they just spin it, and that's how the kids respond that day. Is like one person goes up, spin it. Okay, so we're going to do a quick video that we're going to share with the class, or something really quick, exit slip, that this is how we're going to wrap up our lesson.
So is that just like, so that's one person that does the spin, so one student goes up and it's, basically Price is Right style, and let's see what we come up with.
And I don't know how she decides who gets to spin it, but I could see like whether the person who earns the most points for the hour, or the person who maybe there's only one person that actually turned their homework in that day. So that, you know what, you got to go be the one to spin for the rest of the week, because that's awesome.
or you could even be the tie in some of that social emotional piece there, the student who you saw helping out another student, or a student who's really kind of being appreciative of another student's day and helping them out. That would be a great one.
So I also love dice, and so I try to find ways to incorporate dice into my class. And what's nice about dice is there's so many varieties. There's 20-sided dice, there's large dice. I've got some that are about the size of a baseball. Okay. And they're heavy wooden dice, and those are fun because they make a big loud thud when you roll them. And so I just, something about rolling a dice and adding one just little chance element to something you're already doing can make a big impact.
And it's cool because I'm betting that all of those elements are things that you would be doing normally in class,
Right.
but it just gives them that chance to then all of a sudden, instead of saying, well, we're going to be doing a video reflection today, it's roll the dice. We're going to be doing a video reflection today. And they're like,
Right.
yes, that was the dice roll. And you're like, but if I told you that was what we were doing, I wouldn't get nearly as much buy-in, because it may not have been their choice, but it was their chance.
And one of the things that I really love about that too is you're the only one that knows the rules to your game. So as you're developing it, you can make up whatever rules you want. You just have to be consistent. So if you say that when you roll a 1, everybody has to get up and do 10 jumping jacks, then make sure that's consistent in your game. But beyond that, they don't know what the rules are. So you can be like, oh, yeah, you know what? That's always been a rule. I don't know why you didn't know that. But yes, and so you can introduce things as you go. I would also recommend you look towards a theme. So frame everything you do in your class around a theme. So mine is my students are battling my evil twin, Dr. Von Stock. And so everything we do is in our quest. So we're secret agents trying to capture him. And I know you guys have themes for yours as well.
Yeah, I know that, like, for me, my gamified class is based on Marvel and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so we're secret agents too, but we're going after, and I know that when I was taking a look at different games and stuff that I liked, it was all, I wanted that cooperative element where I wanted the class to kind of go against the game as opposed to, like, against like a person or somebody that was in the room. And so I kind of liked that Marvel theme. And then
and mine's Indiana Jones theme, so the kids are kind of adventurers and they're working together, but they're also like trying to recover antiquities that have disappeared from the timeline and have altered U.S. history, and that's kind of how they do it. So they're kind of tracking down an evil genius too in their own way.
So we've talked about some things. We've talked about theme, student engagement, but what about some of the research-based strategies that you're embedding in gamification to positively affect learning for each of your students?
So when you're looking at Hattie's research, there are so many things that are encompassed within gamification. One thing that hasn't been explored yet, and I haven't found it in the research, is the actual gamification tag. But what I did find is if you break it down, there's so many different game elements on there. So you got small group learning, which has a huge effect size, classroom discussions, which has a large effect size, providing feedback, cooperative learning, scaffolding, especially scaffolding in my classroom. I can incorporate a lot of game elements that help scaffold the lessons for a variety of different learning types.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it's beautiful for. It's automatically differentiated. It becomes a customized learning experience for every kid. And so how do you differentiate content, process, product, environment when you gamify learning?
So it's all about student choice. And students choose which options they want to pursue. So I offer things called side quests, which are extra missions that the students can complete to earn points for their team. And then I give them opportunities to present that content in a variety of ways. So I have some kids, sometimes I'll do a side quest where they write stories in my class and they may record a video version of that story and act it out and get costumes and stuff. So it gives them an opportunity to explore something that they interest, like acting out, while still covering the content that I really want to cover.
Yeah, I mean, that ability to differentiate is so critical to everything with gamification, and just getting that chance to see the kids explore themselves and what they love doing. It also kind of takes a little bit of the onus off of you. You don't have to plan out this exact recipe for every single kid. It's you get to say, hey, this is what I want you to do, and what fits you. What is your passion? What is your talent? Let's do it that way.
When there's also not just different learning styles, but there's also different gamer types.
Yes.
And so you may have one kid who their favorite part is anytime they can be social and communicate with each other, talk with each other. You may have one kid who they just want to make sure that they don't care if they win as long as they make sure everybody else loses.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
So you tailor your game to what your students are acting like and try to make sure that it appeals to each of those.
And I know that we all kind of have done gamer types and whatever in our classroom, and to show them that, those students, the ones that like search for holes in your game and whatever, oh man, those are like the most amazing kids because they're engaged in your class and they're looking around for stuff. And I always love it when that kid will catch you and to be like, well, according to the game, you have this that's happening, and like, so I can use this card and this and do this, right? Because it didn't say that you couldn't do this. And then you're like, oh, yes, you can. And then you hurry up and you mark down, like, you need to make sure to add at the bottom of those cards. You can only use one at a time. And so, I mean, they help make your game better. And then all of a sudden they have ownership in your classroom. And then they're kind of like, hey, this one time, Mr. Stock didn't write down all this stuff in the cards, and I completely blew everything up. That was like the best day ever. And, in order to get that stuff, I'm assuming, they have to do the content anyway.
Right.
And they're at least doing that stuff.
Or they'll say, I watched your video 10 times, and I found this secret message hidden in there. You're like, okay, sure. You watched my video 10 times. That's a secret message. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. That was all on purpose, and keep going.
Or they've, my students this year, they created a currency using the item cards. I didn't have a currency.
Nice.
They decided that cards were worth this much if it had this number on it, and they started trading them, and they created their own currency, and now they're trading with me for cards. It's amazing what they will create.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, all right. So we've kind of talked about some of our kind of bigger things. We have these kind of larger, overreaching things. But what are maybe some baby steps that somebody can take if they're new to gamification?
So, absolutely, number one, highly recommend Explore Like a Pirate by Michael Matera.
Yep.
Number one resource. That's where I started. And the thing about it is, has a lot of useful, I can take this and apply it in my classroom tomorrow. So there's a lot of step-by-step, okay, this is an element you can add to your game right now.
That's right. I think he even kind of said that, like, he really designed it as really kind of like an encyclopedia. That, like, you can kind of read through a couple of those early chapters to kind of, if you're new to gamification, you can get some of the gist and whatever. But then I know that is a book that I kind of have dog-eared on a couple of pages. And I'm like, man, I need to think of a new item for my game. Let's pull out that book and let's check it out and all of that kind of stuff. So, any other books that you're thinking of?
So he also hosts a Twitter chat. It's the XP Lab chat. It's on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock. And the thing that I love about that is it's a great community. And there are so many people on there that know so much more about gamification, board games, you name it. There's someone out there who is an expert on it. And so you just reach out. And they are so good about messaging you and sending you resources, and they love to share, and they're like, oh, you want to use that card? Here's a whole template of how I create these cards. Here you go. Please use it.
Yeah, and if you're on Twitter chat, the three of us are obviously on that chat every single time, so you can always reach out to us. Well, speaking of that, if they want to learn more from you, Josh, where can they find you online?
Okay, so online you can find me on Instagram at Teach Like a Ninja, on Twitter at Teach Like a Ninja, and I'm currently working on using my student classroom Twitter feed, and that's at Mr. Stock Rocks, which is, I have some student aides this year, and they are actually taking pictures for me and uploading them on there. So I've got that's a whole nother podcast, but they are going to run my whole social media for my classroom. So that's at Mr. Stock Rocks, and you can also check out my website, mrstockrocks.com.
That's awesome. Yeah. So is there anybody that is in the district that that has been a spark starter for you?
So this was hard to narrow down because I work with some amazing people, and I've already shouted out a lot of people. And so one person that I just realized I hadn't given her a shout out, but she does so many amazing things, is Beth Dean. She has an amazing theater program at Santa Fe Trail, but she also does the drill team. She also is a building leadership team leader. There are so many things that she is involved in, and I'm just amazed at everything she's able to accomplish successfully. And she's just a remarkable teacher, and the kids love being in her class. I can't remember how many kids tried out for the play just because it's got this reputation of it is an amazing thing to be a part of.
That's awesome.
So yeah, definitely Beth Dean. She's amazing.
Okay. All right. Well, that kind of wraps up our episode today. So I'm Jordan Billings, 7th grade Social Studies, Indian Trail Middle School.
I'm Ryan Stevens, 8th grade Social Studies at Summit Trail Middle School.
As always, check out the most recent aim to nominate a Spark starter. There's a tab and a form to fill out where you can nominate somebody who's sparking innovation around you so that they can be recognized in the district. Until next time, keep sparking innovation.